have another Dollar Tree DIY home decor project for you. This is another table lamp, or you could just make the lampshade part if you wanted. I was inspired by your response on the last lamp I made and a couple of pictures I found on Wayfair. I decided to make a combination of two designs I really like. So, quick update. We had an inspector to go out to the house on Wednesday because this is a foreclosure and it is an as-is sale. He found that this house has termites and serious structure damage. It's been super heartbreaking, but I'm glad that we found out because actually a lot of good has come out of this. The news was given to me at my job while my boss was there, and now he kind of wants to help find a house that's a good fit for us. To start this project, you will need your glass candle holder, glass cutter, gloves, boiling water, and ice water. Now you want to be sure to have a good cutter. This one is great. It was at Lowe's for $5, less than $5. Now I did see a guy on YouTube cut glass bottles with a string using string friction, and I'll link that below. It's really neat. If you don't have a cutter, you might want to try this technique. Use a small embroidering ring as a guide to help me keep my line straight. I hold my cutter up and to the ring and twist the candle holder with my other hand as I score the line. And you should hear an obvious cutting or scratching sound. I score the line, and like in the vase project from last week, I just tapped along the scored line, making the line weaker and weaker. At first, I had a bowl of cold water and I would just dip my glass in the water and then pour hot water over it. Well, my cold water was warm water pretty quick. So I just went to a pan of ice water and had my pot of hot water sitting beside it. So they were both side by side. I would just dip my glass into one for a few seconds and then go to the other one. Now, you don't know when this will break. And for me, this happened way sooner than I thought it would. And this is my first time to ever try this technique. And I've got to say, when the glass broke, it felt so good. It was so rewarding. And for some reason, I was just really happy and excited. It was a lot of fun. So now my glass is cut, and I'll take some sanding paper that I also purchased at Dollar Tree. And this comes in different grit. The smaller the number that's on the back of the paper, the more coarse it is. So I start out with an 80, then a 150, and then a 250. And I made sure to sand my edges extremely smooth so that this glass wouldn't cut me or anyone else. Now I go ahead and I decorate my glass with some gems. These are floral gems, and I purchased these from Michael's. I'm all out of my Dollar Tree gems, so I'm having to use these, which there really isn't much difference in them. I start out using hot glue to adhere the gems to the glass. Now my plan was to use a small paintbrush and add epoxy to my gems after I'd already hot glued them, but I found that it was just working better if I would go ahead and use epoxy glue and hot glue both and then attach them to the candle holder that way. So that's how I attach the remainder of the gems. And these are on here really nice and firm. I'm super happy with how well they're glued on. Once all my gems were glued on, I did go back over and kind of feel around and make sure I didn't have any weak ones or loose ones that would maybe fall out later. And I did. I found about 4 or 5 that was a little loose. And that was because I'd only used the hot glue on those. So I just reapplied them with the epoxy glue and hot glue. Now I take 3 dowels, which you can find at Dollar Tree, and I paint these white. And we'll come back to this in just a moment. I take this 4-ounce plastic dipping cup, and if you don't have one of these on hand, there are other bowls that'll work. Just make sure whatever you use, the plastic is thick on them. And you may have something in your cabinet or fridge that'll work for this. So just kind of look around. So I take my hot knife and I melt a hole in the center, and I make sure I have enough room to run Christmas lights through this hole. And once my hole is big enough to run the Christmas lights, I take my dowels we painted a moment ago and I set them up kind of like a teepee, and I mark my spots and I melt a hole for them. Now, you may have to adjust your TP setup a few times. I did. You want to make sure before you glue them into place that the bowl is sitting evenly. Your little dipping cup, you want to make sure that that's sitting nice and even. The dowels may not look like they're perfect, but as long as your bowl is sitting up straight and even, that's what you want. Also, you want to be sure your holes are big enough so that your dowels can tilt and kind of lean and be in the TP position. After I have my placement figured out, I run my lights through the hole in the dipping cup, and I want to leave as much of the cord as I can on the other side of the hole so I have more length to plug in an outlet. So I stop pulling my cord through as soon as the very last light bulb passes through. And then I go ahead and I run my dowels back through these holes again, and I secure them with a ton of hot glue. Now, I want to make sure these dowels have no chance of even moving. So I go extremely heavy with this hot glue, and I add glue to the outside, to the inside. I try to reach, a couple of the sticks from the inside. And I also add epoxy glue to this as well. And I add epoxy glue and then I use the hot glue. So I kind of go back and forth with this, and I allow this, because this is a lot of glue, so I allow this to sit up and dry for about 30-45 minutes, and I put it in front of a fan, and you'll notice it because it'll be it's so much glue that even though it's clear glue, it should look white. But I do want to check the durability and just ensure that the legs of our lamp is really nice and secure. So now I'm ready to put the final build together. So I'll lay my lampshade on its side and I feed the Christmas lights through the center. And then I connect my bowl and my lampshade together. Now here you don't have to add a lot of glue. Keep in mind these are Christmas lights and they do last a long time, but you may want to change your lights to a different color. Your strand may go bad. So you want to have easy access to be able to change these lights out if you want to. So I wouldn't add epoxy right here unless you have super small hands and you can work the lights in and out without having to take the bottom off. So I also want to give you guys another little bonus tip. If for some reason your glass wasn't cut perfectly even, you can cut you a little strip off of a foam board and glue it to the side of your bowl to kind of help level your lampshade if you need to do that. And the very last thing that I do, and this is just for extra bling, is I take this roll of small bling. It's just rhinestones, and I go around the dowels very loosely, add a tiny dab of hot glue towards the top part of the dowel, and I wind my way down, and at the end of it, I just put another little dab of hot glue, and I snip off the extra or the excess, and now I'm ready to plug this little lamp back up and enjoy it because this project is finished. I hope everyone enjoyed this project. It's certainly one of my new faves. I have it sitting in our kitchen on our countertops, and I've had it on since Friday night. I feel like I don't say enough how much you all mean to me. Thank you so much for your wonderful comments and your support. You keep me inspired. I appreciate each of you for watching and for sharing these projects. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're not subscribed, I would love for you to. And if you are, I'll see you next week with another home decor DIY. This week's quote comes from Dusk Dawns, and hers says, "There are far better things ahead than what we left behind." Oh, that is a great quote, especially for me right now. So thank you, Dusk Dawns, for that quote. And if you know of one, just leave it below in the comment section with the word quote somewhere in the comments.